We've almost got this rack ready to take out. The first thing I did was I cracked these unions here, the high and low pressure line rack union. Is that better? And just nipped them up again, just finger tight, just to stop them leaking. That means I can unbolt all the steering gear, the two mounts, like the mount either side up here and down there. That's like an idle up type thing. I think it's got two lines that go up to the throttle body. So I guess when you're on full lock, it doesn't, the engine doesn't die. So it's all ready to come out aside from those two things there, and I'm just trying to keep tidy about it. And so I'll take them now, and take them off now, and it'll have a big wee. The other thing I've taken out, of course, is the union up the top, the universal joint. And some of these things are difficult to get out because they're quite tight, and for the universal joint I've just used a gearbox extension and just lined it up out here and done it from out in the wheel arch. The other thing to keep in your toolbox, which is worthy of mention, are long bits of tube. Where is it? Yeah, just sort of here. Just for undoing these sorts of things, you can slip them over the end of a ratchet and undo them like that, and that way you don't sort of knuckle yourself or bleed all over the place. Well, this has been a real fight. The other rack, the manual rack, I've managed to bring out through here, through this hole where the tie rod comes through. This one I've had to take the drive shaft out and sort of bring it out through here, and the reason for that is because it's so much taller. Here's your power steering rack, and there's your manual steer one. You can see how much taller it is because of these bypass tubes and all this sort of stuff. The rest of it's pretty much the same, although it is also broader across the body, obviously, because it's got a ram and seals and all that sort of stuff, which the other one doesn't have. Even the bracketry against the firewall, the power steering one's shorter, because this obviously reaches up higher, and of course you've got your universal joint off the top of that, and that's the manual one there, so there's quite a bit of difference between the two setups. Well, I always plan room very carefully, and I got rid of that Wolseley to make room because of the pending move we've got, Mother's got coming up soon, but I didn't sort of count on her having her accident, the poor thing, so hopefully she's alright. Spoke to her yesterday, she was fine. But about a month ago I arranged another thing to grab a hold of, and I've got it in this trailer here. It's a very old school Ford Y block. It's a 50 out of a 55 F100, 272 cubic inch, only a little baby at about 4.5 litres, with a 3-speed gearbox on the back. These bell housings are good because you can convert it for a T5. I haven't got a car for this, but I sort of got it because it was there. So it'd be great in a post-war car, you know, like a post-war Wolseley or something like that. But we'll suck it and see. We'll get it going and see what it's like. Well, I've been making room. I've undone the I've taken the hub off, undone the drive shaft, and I made a nice big hole in here which I can get this new rack in. There's the universal housing up against the firewall there, that black thing. Oh, I'm gonna hit the Falcon. This is going to be a prick. I've undone that O2 sensor there so I don't get the lead all caught up in it. But got to do this for Mum and make sure she's happy with some lovely power steering like this. Let's go put this little guy in here. And here are the little vacuum feeds for that switch down here. So we're going to take those little caps off. So we've got those vacuum switches, vacuum lines put on. I'll just plug in the O2 sensor again. There we go. Now we can start putting the... Now on second thoughts, before I start putting the front end back together with the tie rod ends and all this sort of stuff, means we're going to move a lot of the position of the rack to and fro, which means fluid's going to come out of those holes, so I might do the plumbing now. Now it's New Year's Eve and Toyota wreckers won't be open for a while. Very, very careful when you remove hoses and that sort of thing. Is this out of focus? Looks like it's out of focus a bit. Very careful when you remove hoses and this sort of stuff, because this could be quite brittle now. It doesn't look it, it still looks alright. But I'm just going to take that hose off there. I've sort of twisted it, it's moving there, so that's one thing. And this large one here I'll do down at this pipe here. Before I put the power steering plumbing in, it's easier to get to the cam belt after it's been changed. Now I've tried to get this pulley off, which has been a bit of a hassle because I've tried to stick a screwdriver in and I've actually bent the bolt, which is no good. Good thing I've got a donor car. So I'm just going to make a tool to hold it steady, which is just a bit of flat or a bit of box section steel, and I'll use that as a template. Drill a few holes and then I can rest it down here somewhere and get it off. I've just drilled these near the wall. I've actually got two good friends that run a Toyota workshop in Ringwood, so I'm not going to tell them about this because they'll laugh at me. Oh, you just use this tool, you dickhead. So if I can get this in and started, which is there. So tighten these up. They're two different size heads, but they're both an 81.25 pitch thread, so they're the same thread but a different size head. Oh shit. Oh, there we go, beautiful. Whew. I'll have to use a puller to get this off. Oh shit, no I don't. Ooh, that is awesome. And there she is. Let's line up the marks first before we undo anything, just to see absolutely, we'll be absolutely sure how everything fits in. Right, so I've got to rotate the cam so that that hole, or that little dot in there, is visible through that hole. And there we have it there. There's a little pointer on the casting there. Can I see this? I think it's in the right spot. That lines up with the mark on the sprocket down there. And we've got that little dot should be visible just inside there, so we can take the belt off now. Interestingly, it's got 4E here and 5E, which is the 1.5 engines there. So there's obviously a lot of parallel components between the two engines. Here's our tensioner down here. I've just loosened that, and I'm just going to get a screwdriver in there just to push the tensioner over. You can take the spring off if you want, but in the car it's easier if you don't. We don't want the screwdriver to touch the sprockets at all in case we damage them, but there's a bolt down there. I'm just going to push it over and just nip up this bolt here just to hold the tensioner wheel away from the belt so we can slip the belt off like that. That should just all come off now. I didn't push it back enough, but I can get it. There we go. And this belt, I think these cars every 100,000. Some cars used to be, or some of them used to be 80,000, but this is done 160. And you can see where the marks were, but yeah, I think that's spent now. So it's a good investment. They're 60 bucks or so for one of these, but it's a good investment. Well worth chucking a new one on. Here it is here. I might change my gloves actually. There should be a sticker in there. There's normally a there's a sticker down there which we can put on the cam cover. Whoops. And they also show the way they fit, so the arrows go with engine rotation. Might just go and put some clean gloves on. Another good idea is just to look for oil leaks around your cam seal and also your crank seal, and just rotate these pulleys, make sure they're all nice and free to move. Got to feed the belt around. So the idea now is to turn the engine over 2 full rotations and just recheck those marks and hope like hell we got it right. There we go. That's spot on, and so is that. That's awesome. So cam belt's done. We've got the bottom cover on now, and we can just have a look at that bottom timing mark. It's on 0 and we're still good up here. So we can now button that up and forget about it. Looks like someone's put some of that slimy detailing crap on here, so I'll just wipe it off. Sort of cut this to make it fit a bit better, but I've just transferred some brackets over for the steering pump, and so the pump's just sort of sitting there loosely. It's important to sort of get all these brackets right. I want it to look like Toyota put this here, not me. And so all these brackets are different that hold the hoses to the shocker tower. The other thing with non-power steered cars is the bracketry. There's the switch for the brake master cylinder, and that sort of sits on a separate bracket against the firewall. So you have to change all this to give it a legitimate look. As with any open system, you want to Maybe I'll just loop that under there and connect that one first, hey? There we go. Good as new. Oh, bloody fine. There we go. I'll try and put this back where it was. Another difference on the non-power steered car is the length of the uni joint, the coupling from the steering column down to the rack. Power steering, this just uses a bit of Dextron 2 or 3. I'm just going to put some in now, and that way when I move the rack in and out to fit the hubs and all that sort of stuff, it'll sort of prime a little bit, let a bit of fluid go through the lines, so when I start it, hopefully it's semi-primed. Where I spilt the oil, bit of brake clean on the pulleys just to get rid of any residue and hit it with compressed air. That'll also show any oil leaks around the rack when I clean that up too. Brake pads that came out of the car look pretty good. There's plenty of meat on them, but I don't know how old they are and they're inclined to get a bit sort of hard, but if you put them together like this, I don't know if you can see in there, but there's actually a gap all the way through there and you can see daylight through it, so I'm not going to use those again. I bought a good pair of a good set of brand new Bendix ones. Now these are the dearer of the types you can get. You can get cheaper pads, but it's for mum, so we're going to put some good ones in. They come with their own anti-rattle spring at the back, but it doesn't hurt just to put a bit of copper grease on, just to stop any potential squeaking and that sort of thing. I'm not filming this at all well. I've got no room in here. I'm just going to use these big multis just to push the piston back. And while we do that, just going to keep an eye on the reservoir. That's about it. It's just to pump your brake pedal, just to get the pads up next to the disc. I've got the column in. This shorter shaft here I've had to put in. Ended up dropping the column and moving out, so there was enough room for it to sort of slide over there. I haven't done it up from underneath yet. But the other thing I've done is I've mounted this spiral cable as a maximum of 5 turns from this arrow here, and so either side of it should be 2, 1, 2.5, well 2 3/4. So if I go back, 1, 2, that's the center, so there should be another 2 this way, 1, 2 and a bit, yeah, 2.5. So we go back 1, 2. So we know that when we put the wheel on, that's the center. If that's out, then when we go lock to lock, you can break the spiral cable, and we don't want the airbag going off. Well, this is the wheel off the old car. It's in much better condition than the new one. I'm just going to pop it on for now. There's our airbag wiring, there's little earth there. I assume that's for the horn. And we just feed it through. Like that. Hang on a sec. There we go. I'm just going to place that around about where I think it is. And I just want to make sure the rack bottom's out. I haven't got any battery connected yet. 1, 1.5. That's good. So that's the center again. 1, Yep. So that should be central around there. And I'll just check by eye before I tighten this up. I want to talk about tyres. These are the tyres that came off the car. These are different to the rear tyres, and it's okay to do that as long as you have the same type of tyre on each axle. So 2 of these on the front, 2 of something different on the back's fine, just not 2 of the same along the sides if they're different from the other side. Now these tyres look pretty good. The shoulder's in good condition, and I'll just use my little depth gauge here. And we have a whisker over 4mm of tread, so that's very, very healthy. The only problem with this is these are on the front of the car and it wheel spun like crazy in the wet, and I wasn't pushing it, but what happens with tyres is although they look good, they do go hard over time, and there's a date code on them, and this one is 1210, so it's 12th month, December 2010. These are still roadworthy. Once they get to about I think 5 years old, they're out of date. I'm going to put 4 new ones on. This is a great spare, but I am going to put 4 new tyres on just to keep Mum safe. So we're just throwing them back on for now. I've also got to get one of the kids and stick their feet on the brake or stick this on the ground so I can tighten this up, put the split pin in, all that sort of stuff. That's still not tight yet. Oh, and then we've got to bleed the steering. We want to bleed the power steering with the wheels off the ground, go lock to lock with the engine running. So we'll start it up in a few minutes. Well, here we are. Brake fluid's nice and clean. I haven't changed that. It was done very recently by the look of it. Air filter element's like new. It's just had a service before we bought it. Engine oil's the same, and so is the oil filter. That's all good. I've changed the belts over here and the water pump belt over there, alternator belt. Done the cam belt. Swapped over disc rotors, put new brake pads on, and put the power steering on it. So the moment of truth is upon us. Alright, here we go. Watching that level. Gee, it runs well, doesn't it? We've got a bit of a milkshake going in there. We'll just turn it side to side to bleed the steering through. So I've got on the cold level there. That looks all good. It's, the $64,000 question is if there's any leaks underneath. We'll have a quick look under there. Now we haven't got all our trays underneath yet. There's a couple of bolts up here on the cross member that have broken, and I'm going to drill those out and tap with new 6mm threads, but that, you can see up there, that all looks good. I'm happy with that. Excellent. I'll tell you what, it's a warm one in the garage today, 42 degrees. Very, very low humidity, so it's been a warm day in here working on that car, but it's been a pleasure. I'll take a bottle of transmission fluid with me because the steering will probably get a bit dry.
Are there supposed to be speakers in here?
Pardon?
Are there supposed to be speakers in here?
Yeah, they're the factory ones.
Okay, good. Hello. Hello.
Rightio.
Yeah, sure, that'll be fun. Yeah.
Well, Starlet's all finished now. I had to put these sort of very cheap seat covers in because it's going to have our dogs in it. We want to keep it nice and clean. Of course, I folded down the back seat. 4 brand new Yokohama tyres with some, you know, cheap and cheerful hubcaps, but they look better than the ones that were there before. This car drives like a bloody dream. It's had its front end alignment. It's driving very, very well. The only thing I've got to do, I've got some more of this somewhere off an XD Falcon I did, and of course it needs it on the back bit there. I peeled that off thinking that I could buff it out, but it just doesn't look good, so I'll put another bit of pinstripe on. Eventually, the only thing I'm not that sure about, clutch feels a little bit shuddery, but in the scope of things, it's a lovely, lovely little car. We'll try this out. Feels pretty good. With my daily drive, I That's another new car I bought, an SS. It's a 6-litre manual with leather trim, and I'll tell you what, in some ways I prefer to drive this little thing. This is beautiful. And we've got a lovely cool air conditioner. These cars were, I think they were 15.5 plus on road when they first came out, and Hyundai, the marketing geniuses, brought out the second, I think it was the second generation XL, the rounded ones in the 90s, and all these trendy 60s sort of fresh colours, and they sold like hotcakes, you know, 10 of those to one of these. Well, what eventually happened was Toyota caught wind of it and ended up selling these at $13,990 driveway, no more to pay, the same as Hyundai, so all your dealer charges and rego was paid, all you had to do is insure it. But then they threw in free air conditioning, which is why most lives have free air. So I got mine was February compliance, and I got it at the end of September, and for $600 they threw in power steering and, you know, the power pack started at $14,600. It was an absolute bargain. So we'll go and I've got to return something to a shop now. I've had the alignment done, it drives picture perfect, this thing, it's beautiful. The only complaint I have, the clutch is a tiny bit shuddery, so I'll probably end up doing a clutch on it. We've been driving around today and it's on half, it's 40 degrees outside, 39 point something outside, and the temperature's perfect. And we've got the air conditioning on, it's ice cold. We put that deodorizer in because it stunk a bit before coming out of the vents, so that's all sorted, but no, it's cool. Oh, we'll take the car back, give it to Mum. I'm going to miss this car, so we'll go and give it to her now, and she'll love it. She really will. I mean, I sort of miss mine. I wouldn't mind getting another one of these now. It sort of reminds me of a time when parking was simple and fuel didn't cost much. So I think we'll say goodbye now.
See ya.
See you later. Bye.